The judge is ready. And the timer? Alright, let's begin. Court was meeting in the great hall of the palace.
Here, ever since the castle had housed a king.
The heir to the throne had attended the court.
Here he learned wisdom
And justice from his father's judgments.
so that in the years to come his people might seek his judgments.
With confidence and trust. But little Prince Hubert had no desire to learn any lesson. Self-control.
Or patience! I'd rather be playing. If I must sit here in this hard seat, it would do no harm to have a story that would make me forget that I am here.
The king, his father, turned to the small boy. What good to be here if you must forget where you are? Someday, you will sit in this seat of mine. Someday, your judgments will be all important. It is for that day that you're being trained, my son. And your chair is no harder for you than mine is for me.
But you are the king. That's your throne. And I want to go play.
Come now. Here's a case to which you may listen. The village
So we
tailor...
weren't for even coming here at all. What are they for, these village people, if not to serve us? That is my decision. May I go now?
It is without doubt that little Prince Hubert...
Has issues.
Prince Hubert is a disobedient,
Unmanageable.
selfish,
And demanding little devil.
however...
Hubert is about to encounter a transformation. This transformation is about someone who rejects the ways of a child.
to step through the doors of manhood.
A transformation we need in today's society.
This story shows us that it takes love
Sacrifice
and trust to empower a young man to rise up
and impact
a dying world.
Sir Malcolm.
And the Missing Prince by Sidney Baldwin. The time had come when some solution of a troubling problem must be made.
Sir Malcolm, I am at my wit's end, and the end of my dream. I dare not leave my kingdom in the hands of the man he's growing to be. Today was the last straw.
King, do you have faith and love in my allegiance?
As I have faith in my own heart.
If you let me take the prince, I'll bring him back to you. Fit to be a king. He's not at heart the selfish boy that the court sees. He carries in his veins the blood of the sweetest lady and the noblest gentleman the kingdom could ever know. Send him to perhaps foreign lands where no one else is a king's son.
I cannot bear to put him away from me.
Better a short absence than an unhappy country in the years to come.
You have the courage, which I, through love of the boy, lack.
Am I to have full charge of the prince?
Full charge. As you deal with him, so may God deal with you.
The prince awoke the next morning in confusion.
What's the matter?
You're going away.
Going away? Sir Malcolm?
To go to school.
Shall I soon be back?
That is, as may be, my prince.
The way was long.
And the June day hot. Mile
After mile.
they tramped along the pleasant roads. As they said, foot away from the coast.
He had said.
That Hubert would from that time on be known as Hugh.
Hugh?
Mm-hmm.
Hugh had never been out the night before with just an armful of hay for a pillow.
Before that pressure had relaxed, Hugh was asleep. Gentlemen, we have many miles to travel today.
All day long under the hot sun, the two figures trudged over the rough road.
At last they came to a cluster of small cottages.
Hardly enough to be called a village. Here Sir Malcolm stopped,
One of the cottages,
with a thatched roof.
and tiny deep-set window panes. The man pulled the latch and entered.
In the spot of sunshine which fell through a window, an old woman sat knitting.
Welcome. How do you come, father?
2 leagues! Since morning!
Well, then you'll be hungry.
The boy looked at his companion with a little uneasiness. He had thought for some reason that this was to be the end of their journey.
A bowl of milk and some open bread for the both of us, before I go.
Uneasiness increased. Surely it was impossible that he, the king's son, was to be left alone in a strange country.
In spite of his efforts after he had eaten, his eyelids began to droop, and soon fell fast asleep with his head on the table.
Sir Malcolm! Where is Sir Malcolm?
Your companion has gone.
Gone where?
From where he came.
Gone back to the palace without me? Oh, that is not possible.
You'll lose your way in a great forest. Stay here.
Where do I sleep?
Ah! What ails ya?
There is something alive. It's crawling over me. I'm going back to the castle.
It's nothing but a mouse, you said. That night he cried himself to sleep for sheer loneliness. You're living with
Dame Martha.
Were you herd geese or could wood in the forest?
I herd geese.
Well, can you chop?
I am no wood chopper.
You can feed the heads.
I am no milksour. I do not take orders.
You will take my orders and my blows before I'm finished with you. Why will you not work? There's nothing else here to do.
I do not know how. Will you show me?
Yes, gladly.
Later Hugh sat in his study. There were many unfamiliar ways. At the palace, no one worked except the servants. Here, there were no servants, and the work to be done was every man's duty. Dame Martha, did Sir, my companion, did he leave any gold for me?
How does that concern you?
He left you no money?
Why should he?
You have not to buy me food, give me clothes?
Why should another pay for your food? Why should another pay for your clothes? You are here. What I have, I shared with you.
But you have nothing.
I have you now. Hugh had learned to work.
2 years.
Month after month went by, and Hugh grew taller and stronger.
You could wield an axe.
And took place with the men when man's work was needed. You're a good boy.
I serve no justice but you. Don't idle lives those pages lead. There are things more worthwhile, and I have found them out.
Thank God that you have, laddie.
Afterwards,
The calamities befell the village. It became custom throughout all the kingdom that the wood in the forest belonged to anyone who chose to cut it up and carry it away.
it had been the custom of the Duke to send men through his forests, marking certain trees that should belong to the people.
The Duke had been generous with these trees, but suddenly,
An order came from the governor saying only fallen wood was to be taken from the forest of the Duke.
there won't be enough left for wood, for food, for another month.
The king should forbid this robbery. Once a week, he sits in the great castle listening to the stories of all who have been mistreated. If we could only reach him, he would lift this rule.
Matters went from bad to worse. The winter was the worst that anyone had known. People of the villages had been driven out of their homes by unjust levying of taxes.
I will go to the king for justice.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
The case of Dame Martha, the country of the Black Duke, and the king's judgment for the breaking of the king's laws.
Who tries the case?
Hugh, son of Dame Martha.
And you made your way to the palace for what?
For justice, sire.
How am I to know this story is true?
I have brought witnesses, a handful of people who, driven from their homes by the need for food, have made the month's journey because they have faith in the king's call.
Then it suits the Duke himself. Would you repeat your accusation?
I do not accuse the Duke. His fault only lies in his ignorance of the men he leaves behind him. In the Duke's rule, the people are happy and content. Let us continue as we once were, the happy, loyal subjects of our Duke and our King.
Your wish is granted. Your village shall now live in peace and quiet.
One moment, sire. To tell of the gratitude a boy owes to a man he once called father. A man who showed naught but kindness to an impertinent child, who then thought himself above all others. Oh, sire, that boy has gone through many long hours that he might just once say, I did not understand. Your love for me was too great for me to understand. But now, I see what I was then too young to know. In gratitude, I give you the love of that boy for whom you did so much.
Do you say so?
Sir Malcolm,
Can you judge between the rich and the poor with fairness?
in fair judgment than before.
Sire, as you've commanded, bring back your son.
For an instant, Hugh
And his father were clasped tight in each other's arms. A splendid celebration was ordered immediately.
the best cooks for miles around.
We're summoned to prepare a feast for the people in the courtyard.
So quickly did Prince Hubert take his old place at the palace.
That his days in the village almost seemed unreal to him.
One night, he walked with Sir Malcolm in the garden.
And have you quite forgiven me, lad? It was a hard remedy, but with your father's love enfolding you so closely, it ought to be cure.
After the first day in the forest, I had forgiven you. Though roughly treated at first, I learned quickly the lesson that
humility comes before honor.
I learned that a man
diligent in his work
may stand before kings and not mean men, and that hard work mixed with humility
and truth
might just prepare him
to be a king.